Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Health Discourse Ask the Doctor. I'm Dr. Babalola by name, your host as always. Today I'll be discussing one of the major medical conditions in the world. To some, they don't like discussing it because of the fear they do have whenever such discussion comes up. Maybe because one of their loved ones has passed on due to such medical conditions, or perhaps they are even managing the medical condition themselves, or perhaps they have a loved one they are taking care of for such medical condition. But the truth is, if we don't discuss such a topic as this, how do we gain knowledge about its prevention as well as its proper management? Which is the reason for this video. In this video, what are those things that you are going to learn as an individual, as a medical personnel or as a non-medical personnel? I'm going to let you know the various types of hypertension, the risk factors that can make an individual to be prone to hypertension either in future or at any point in time. So what do we mean when we say hypertension? To some, they see hypertension as being high blood pressure. Is hypertension truly high blood pressure? No, hypertension is not high blood pressure. Rather, hypertension means sustained high blood pressure. What do I mean by this? What I mean is that when you check your blood pressure today and it's high, above the normal range, does that confer on you hypertension? No. It is when you check it for an average of 3 consecutive times, and at those instances, the value is found to be higher than the normal value. To such individual, it can be said to be hypertensive. However, for those that don't regularly check their blood pressure, that particular concept might not hold because they might have been hypertensive beforehand, such that checking it at the very first time, the value could be high. But when the value is high, even at the first time, medical personnel are not always in a hurry to commence an individual on a long-time medication for hypertension, which is antihypertensive. So, what is the mechanism behind hypertension? I'm going to liken it to a concept of a car engine through which the fuel flows through the pipes. The fuel is meant to flow through the pipe at a particular pressure. When this pressure is higher than normal, the car begins to malfunction. When this pressure is lower than normal, the car also malfunction. So what is that pipe in an individual? The pipe simply means the blood vessels, while the fuel in itself is the blood. There is a particular range of pressure that is expected to carry the blood across the blood vessel. When this pressure is above the normal, it has a negative effect on the wall of the blood vessel, such that over time it damages the wall of the blood vessel, thereby leading to complications that result from hypertension. However, when this pressure is lower than expected, the blood will not be able to circulate to the organs that are meant to receive the blood for oxygenation, thereby having its own negative effect. By and large, what it means is that when the blood pressure is not maintained at its normal level, definitely it has a negative effect on the body. In that regard, we have what we call high blood pressure, low blood pressure. When the blood pressure is normal, we call it normotension. That's the blood pressure is normal. When it is higher than expected, we call it hypertension, high blood pressure. When it is lower than expected, we call it hypotension, low blood pressure. Today, I'll be discussing with you hypertension. So this is the way it works. I've told you the blood is meant to be carried along within the blood vessel at an expected pressure. And again, when this pressure is maintained, the elasticity of the wall of blood vessel is also maintained. and they enjoy that relationship. So when this pressure is higher than expected, what it does on the wall of the blood vessel is that it makes the wall of the blood vessel to expand beyond the normal in order to be able to accommodate the higher pressure that is coming through it. Mind you, the wall of the blood vessel is elastic in nature. I'm going to let you know how this one serves as an advantage to human blood pressure control over time. So this is the mechanism beyond the flow of the blood through the blood vessel. So when this blood pressure is higher than expected in people of younger age group, they have the ability, because their blood vessel is still very much elastic, to accommodate such. And in a general population, the blood vessel accommodates by becoming elastic as much as possible to accommodate the pressure. But for people that are old, such that their body had undergone aging, in which the blood vessel is one of those body components that had undergone aging, it loses its elasticity over the years, such that when at that age they are exposed to such high blood pressure, the body wouldn't be able to cope, because the elasticity that would have been able to cope with such pressure, it has been lost in such age group. And that is why we know generally blood pressure is meant to be expected in people of old age, not because it has to be all of them, but in more number in them than younger age. So having said this, and having let you know the concept behind blood pressure, so the general knowledge is this: the sustained high blood pressure is what we call hypertension. So what is the prevalence of this hypertension all over the world? More than 1 billion of the world population is known to be hypertensive based on the statistic that was done in the year 2015. And of this more than 1 billion population, we also note that 1 in 4 men are hypertensive, which means when you pick 4 men, the tendency of having one of them being hypertensive is very high. However, in women, it's never so. In women, 1 in 5 is known to be hypertensive. What this means in essence is that hypertension is more prevalent in men than women. Let's bring it down home in Nigeria. More than 20 million of people within the age of 20 and above have hypertension. Note, I'm not saying 20 million of the whole population of Nigeria as of today, which is noted to be 200 million. We are seeing 20 million of those age group above 20 years, which shows that if we are even meant to count all the age group, because hypertension can even be found in people younger than 20 years. So it shows that the burden is massive, not just in the world at large, but also in Nigeria. So I need to mention this burden so that you know the importance of this topic and this discussion. What are the different types of hypertension that we have? We have essential hypertension and secondary hypertension. When we say essential hypertension, what do we mean? Essential hypertension are those hypertension that are caused without any primary medical condition or surgical condition. However, secondary hypertension are those hypertension that result due to one medical condition in an individual or a surgical condition in an individual. A case in point, if an old individual comes down with hypertension without any recourse to kidney condition or diabetes or any other medical condition, but out of the blues, the individual just developed hypertension, we know for this individual it is an essential hypertension. But if the hypertension is preceded by either kidney problem, diabetes, this is a secondary hypertension because there is a primary condition that has led to that, such that in these individuals, if the primary medical condition is being taken care of, the hypertension will naturally disappear. It is this type of hypertension, the secondary hypertension, that is common in younger age group. And the reason is this: for those individuals, they either have one medical condition or the other, which has predisposed them to coming down with hypertension. So in younger age group, the common form of hypertension in them is secondary hypertension, because there might have been one medical condition or surgical condition that might have predisposed them to such. You may ask, what about the newly born? What about those ones that are even younger than 10 years? What is that form of hypertension in them? It is also secondary hypertension. Let's say, for example, a newborn that is being given back to with a congenital heart condition or a congenital kidney condition. In these children, they come down with what we call secondary hypertension because of this deformity that has occurred when they were being given birth to. If such deformity is being corrected, the hypertension will definitely be corrected in these individuals. I hope this have been able to help you understand the concept behind young people coming down with hypertension. So, having discussed this, what are the risk factors that can predispose individuals to coming down with hypertension? We have two categories of risk factors. We have modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. When I say modifiable risk factors, what do I mean? I mean those risk factors that can be controlled and can be regulated, that can be prevented by an individual. Maybe I should even start by saying, what do I mean by risk factor? Risk factor means those things that can be present in an individual that can make an individual to come down with hypertension. Note, they could be present in an individual and the individual may not come down with hypertension. But being present in an individual means the individual has a higher risk than other population. That is why we call them risk factors, because when these things are present in them, they have higher tendency and higher percentage of coming down with high blood pressure or coming down with hypertension. So what are those risk factors? I said we have modifiable risk factors, non-modifiable risk factors. Modifiable risk factors means those risk factors that can be controlled by an individual. Non-modifiable risk factors are those risk factors that cannot be controlled by an individual. I'm going to give you examples of those. So talking about modifiable risk factors, what are those risk factors that are modifiable? One, smoking. Smoking is one of those risk factors that can predispose an individual to coming down with hypertension. What smoking does is that when individual smokes for a long time, it gets seized through the lung into the blood, and those content of the cigarette get deposited and they react through the receptors on the vascular wall. When they react through the receptors on the blood vessel wall, over the time they make the blood vessel to lose their elasticity. When the blood vessel loses its elasticity, what happens is that it won't be able to expand to accommodate the pressure that is pushing the blood through the blood vessel. When that continues over time, the individual comes down with what? Hypertension. So when the individual stops smoking, the individual can modify such risk factors so that it becomes non-existent again. By doing so, the individual can prevent coming down with hypertension. The other risk factor is diabetes. When an individual has diabetes mellitus, what happens is that over time, when the diabetes is not well controlled, there is a gradual deposition of cholesterol because the blood sugar that is not well taken up by the cell into the cell. Over time, the body converts excess sugar into fats, and those fats get deposited on the wall of the blood vessel. And as they get deposited on the wall of the blood vessel, they narrow the wall of the blood vessel. When they narrow the wall of the blood vessel, what happens? The pressure to push through a narrow vessel increase. because it was wider before, but now it is narrow. So because it is narrow, more pressure is required to push blood through the same blood vessel channel. So as a result of this, over time, the individual comes down with hypertension. A poorly controlled diabetes is a risk factor to hypertension. Overweight is the same thing, because the individual is overweight due to increase in fat deposit in an individual, and the excess fat that is just flowing within the blood, they get deposited on the blood vessel, and as a result, over time, it narrows the blood vessel channel, thereby increasing the demand by the body to increase the pressure required to push blood through the vessel. Physical inactivity is another factor. When an individual has a form of sedentary lifestyle, the individual over time, the glucose that is meant to be used up as a form of energy building component of the body, because the individual lives a sedentary lifestyle, inactive, also gets predisposed to a form of fat deposit. So they work hand in hand. However, when the individual becomes active, the individual now has control over such factor. This is the reason why we call these modifiable risk factors. What about the non-modifiable risk factors? These are the factors that we can't control because it is not within our power to control them. What are those examples? 1, age. You cannot draw back your age, and you cannot make yourself grow older than expected. I explained the other time that when an individual ages, all the body parts also age, including the blood vessel. When the blood vessel ages, what happens is that they lose their elasticity over time. So when the elasticity of the blood vessel is being lost, their ability to accommodate the usual pressure they were accommodating before is lost. And as a result of that, there is tendency of them predisposing the individual to what is called persistent high blood pressure, which results in hypertension. So aging is one of those factors that actually cannot be modified. The other factor that cannot be modified is ethnicity. There are certain ethnic groups in certain parts of the world that are known to be predisposed to hypertension because of their genetic composition. The other non-modifiable risk factor is family history of heart conditions or family history of hypertension itself. People that have first-line relations, like father, mother, with hypertension, they have that risk factor of coming down with hypertension as well. Having discussed this, I've told you the concept of hypertension. I've told you the burden of hypertension. I've told you the types of hypertension we have, which will give you an idea to the reason why hypertension can be seen in people of younger age group. I've also told you the risk factors. I hope you've been equipped enough to be able to know how to work towards preventing hypertension as well as transmitting the information to other people that do not have such information. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly subscribe to this channel. I so much appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. Bye for now.